thought we played hard, and the tempo of the game is as we like it. It was up and down the court. We come out and early on had trouble finding the basket, but still nothing was going to be changed because the flow of the game was in our favor. Slippery Rock was really good inside, setting interior screens, getting the ball inside, and running their sets. And we really didn't want to see that. And we did a pretty good job of creating enough havoc, putting enough pandemonium on the floor that the kind of sets we were looking at from other teams, we really didn't see them play because we really didn't have a chance to get into their sets. And that's good for us. And you kind of saw how strong they can be inside. We want to have a lot of the game played between the foul lines, and that was kind of our goal, and I thought that was accomplished.
If you plan to attack their interior defense, I think that you guys only had one shot block the entire game, and that was a 15-footer by Will Sinchuk. So, Timmy's in there dropping layups. Do you see something on film or something you need to get attacked at?
You can't stop Timmy inside. Offensively, one of the calls to our offense is we do what we do. And it really just means we take what's there, and it kind of goes with the flow of the game. We probably talked a lot more about how we're going to defend them and what we're going to do offensively because we really kind of know our offensive scheme pretty well. And these guys have been around playing together enough that they do a good job of taking what's there. And what you saw was just happened to be there, and they were smart to take it. I like to tell you that I figured that out and signed it and put it on paper, but I think players just figured that out on the court and took what was available. We've got good three-point shooters. They lock up on the perimeter. Our guys take the ball to the basket. And that's what happened a lot, especially as when Timmy got to the basket. You kind of noticed when they broke through that perimeter, a lot of times it was a wide open lane inside, and the basket was pretty exposed without secondary help. That means we got good shooters, and they're locking up on them on the outside.
Jim, there was a sequence there late in the first half when you kind of broke it open. I think you did it defensively. They had like 4 or 5 poor possessions, 3 or 4 turnovers, and you turned them into points. I know people like the offense, but I mean, your defense probably is responsible for winning more than anything else.
I think so. It definitely generates offense. We got. I remember the stretch you're talking about. We did have 4 or 5 turnovers right down the lane and converted a couple of them into baskets immediately. And it's what we do. We put a lot of pressure on it. We try to pay the price. We gave up a few buckets out of transition, but not too much. It's kind of the price of doing business and that kind of pressure defense. But I thought we got a lot more rewards, and we didn't pay the price for the most part. That stretch was one of them.
Jim, you talk about the way they like to run their offense with the cuts and everything. I think they finished with 2 assists, 73 points, 2 assists. You made them into a one-on-one team, and with the way you guys play defense, that's going to be tough.
I really thought we played one of our better defensive games. Even when they got through the pressure, we played good half-court defense. Guys double team when it was there. If not, they locked out on their guy. And I saw that at halftime. They had 1 assist. And they're a team that they do pound it inside. That usually results in an assist. Our interior defense, along with pressure on the perimeter, really just didn't allow that. So, we're a defensive team now. Obviously, that's our forte. I think you're right, though. I thought we played one of our better defensive games. And it did break down into a lot of one-on-ones for them. And I didn't know they had 2 assists for the entire game. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 2 assists and 18 turnovers. We'll take that, sure.
Yes, that's not the assist-turnover ratio they were looking for, I'm sure.
It's one of the uglier ones I've seen. Especially from them, because like you said, they like pounding it inside. They usually have a dozen, 15 assists per game. When you saw them, I'm sure you saw them, did you have a certain thing in mind that you felt like you could do to limit what they were doing? Because you said they did a really good job keeping the ball out of Ryan Brown's hands. He only had 8 points, keeping it after 18. What did you do specifically to kind of render those stats as offset as they were?
Most of that. Now, we were ready to defend him in a half-court set, coming off screens. He'll pass it, and he'll run inside. They'll screen for him block to block, and he seals guys inside really well. And we worked pretty hard in practice to stop that. But we didn't want to get a point where we had to stop that. Create some havoc in the backcourt, don't see him. And there was a long period in the first half that if you said number 30, Baron Brown, had said we didn't see him on him. He just basically disappeared. They didn't have a chance to even look at him for a while. So it was really a 2-part deal. But let's get as much pressure in transition, make that be the game, and then if they get in a half-court set, we'll do our very best to deny that post play. And between the two, he's a great player, and it was good to make him disappear from the court for a long stretch of time.
People focus on threes, high percentage there, but tonight we were going penetrating at that low.
we've got we have a great three-point shooting team. We've been kind of labeled as a three-point shooting team. For the last 2 years, we've led the country in threes. But when you look at the numbers, last year we averaged 12 threes a game, that's 36, but we averaged 101 a game. We scored 65 inside. This year, we're averaging 15 threes a game, 45, but we're averaging 110 points. So we're scoring 65 points inside the arc again. So it's a little deceptive. By percentage, we're not that far out of the norm, but we put generally a lot of points on the board. So we have a lot of other things. We will score any way humanly possible. We don't take anything out of our offense. We'll even post up, and do a few things out of the norm. There's nothing that's out of our offensive scheme.
If you're, after you have that big lead, what's left, put it back. It's a beat. Can you talk about those, especially Jordan Fee, he's from I'm from Butler Eagle, he's from our coverage area. Talk about, if you can, talk about Jordan a little bit, what kind of things you look for him.
He's a great point guard. He's a good leader. And, it's been tough because he probably hasn't put in enough minutes as he'd like to on the court in prime time. But I'll tell you what, in practice, he's a force. He comes to practice every day and gets after it. And I have to say, one of the reasons I think we play well is because when we come to practice, these guys, the #1 team in the nation, they took on the chin a couple times this week from our second team. And that makes you better. Jordan Fee is a huge part of that.
Hey, Jordan, you picked up a couple quick fouls. They were calling it pretty tight early. You guys need to play aggressive. How do you put that in the back of your mind and continue to play so aggressively when they're calling a game that tight early?
It was a huge difference playing with different refs that we really haven't seen, and you get some of those calls, but they're not going to take that call back. So you just got to keep your head and stay focused and know if it gets out of your hand, then someone off the bench is going to come in and just do the job just as well as you. And, we have a lot of faith in each other and know that we can play aggressive, but yet we'll have someone to come in if anyone gets in foul trouble.
Jim, not a particularly effective night for you to foul. I mean, does that kind of go with the territory in an up and down game, or did you have an off night?
I don't think so. I'm calling that an off night. I expect to make more foul shots than that. It's one of those things that I really haven't figured out exactly how to practice free throw shooting. You can stand and shoot them when you get in the game and miss them. We're a good free throw shooting team. I'm just saying this was just an off night. I think we're a team that's going to hit 75% of our free throws most of the time. Tim Hospital missed a couple of free throws today. He may go a month never missed 2 free throws. Yeah, it was just an off night. I don't think anyone would have a strategy of playing hack and shack on our guys. So, off night, that's what I'm going to say.
Alex, you guys come in here 29-0, #1 team in the country. IUP's coach was in here earlier saying, this is West Liberty Invitational. You guys are expected to roll through here. Is there any pressure internally, and are you guys glad to get this one out of the way, the first one?
We'll take any win we possibly can. It's always every game's tough. I mean, as you can see, every game starts off tough. I mean, if we're not playing to our peak, I mean, they can get confidence and just play with us the whole game. So, I mean, to answer your question, it was great to get this one out of the way, but then we realized we have a quick turnaround tomorrow. We got to play. So really, this is short-lived. I mean, we're already focused on our next opponent. So in about 20 minutes, we'll be watching them and hopefully be ready for tomorrow.
Sounds like we're getting set up here
And that's a good point for the two players, and you can both answer this. How do you go about watching this game? Are you looking at the guys maybe be playing against, or are you looking at more the system? Because now you're going from a player to kind of a scout out here for the next game.
Yeah, we're definitely going to look at it both ways, both what they do individually and as a team. And Coach told us that it's up for grabs this game, so we got to pay attention to both teams, which will be hard, but we're going to watch it as a team and see what we pick up, and then we're going to meet in the locker room and collaborate with the team and just see what we saw. And then obviously we'll watch further game tape and stats and look at what each player does.
We have the advantage that teams have to prepare for us. Our game plan, as you can see all year, hasn't really changed. So, I mean, it's important for us to do scouting. It's important for us to see what they're going to do, so we're already on defensively. But other than that, they basically have to prepare for us. So that's one advantage we have all the time.
Last question. Well, as a coach coming in, I know you're focused on Slippery Rock, but did you know much about the other teams you could possibly face coming in?
Very little. Not as much as I would like to. And we did focus really hard on Slippery Rock this week. You know, we're not crazy enough to start looking ahead to a next game. These two teams are teams we know very little about. I wish I knew more. We're going to watch really closely here tonight. We have the film on this tonight too. We have our players watching the game. We'll gather in the locker room at halftime and after the game. It's just one of those things, in a tournament situation, it's really tough to scout ahead. You know, you do a little bit of it, you peek out of the corner of your eye, but you really, you can't lose sight of the ball. The rest of the ball is Slippery Rock. So we're really not prepared yet. It's going to be a crash course in the next 23 hours.
Thank you.